What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Speaking Llama, a Survivor podcast where we are here for our very first post-game interview with the one, the only Laura from Australian Survivor, Brain versus Brawn II. Laura, welcome to the podcast.
I didn't know I was your first, guys.
First
I'm
one.
so honored. Oh my gosh. I'm blushing. I'm so honored. Wow. Thank you so much for having me. As I said, I've been listening to you guys for years, so this is just a real honor.
The honor is all ours. We are excited to have you on. I think from the very beginning, when Alex and I were first looking at the cast, we thought, who are the people we're most excited to have on? And you were definitely one that jumped off the screen. I mean, you were proclaimed as a witch to us. And so, how could you not want that? You were a larger than life character out there, and we're excited to talk a little bit about your game and everything that you've been doing since Survivor. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, for those that are joining in for the first time, welcome. If you are a longtime listener, welcome back. We are Speaking Llama. We have been covering Australian Survivor as well as US Survivor, and we are here to do some post-game interviews of the latest season. You can find all of our episodes over on Speaking Llama, both on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Instagram, wherever you get your media of choice. With all that out of the way, Laura, how it's been a week or two since the finale aired. What have you been up to since Survivor ended?
To be honest, I've been resting. This has been a crazy whirlwind of an experience. We had the finale at Miles's parents' house, and God, do they know how to throw a party. We have just been sleeping since then. I think the next day I didn't speak to anyone because it was just the most wild party you can possibly imagine. I felt like it was, Project X. We're all just going crazy. We're so happy it's over. Miles is drunk. It was incredible. So I've just been sleeping. I've been catching up on sleep. This whole experience has been amazing, but it has been a lot. I've wanted to listen to every episode that anyone's covered on Survivor. So it's been an overwhelming experience. So I'm just happy to be on the other side of it now and trying to get my life back in order. Just, texting friends I haven't texted in months going, I promise I'm alive and I still love you. Sorry, just what's been going on. But no, I'm really good. I'm really, really happy.
Wonderful. Yeah,
that's so good. Well, I'm curious too, you listen to us, you listen to other podcasts. What's that experience like, knowing the outcome, knowing how you played, and listening to people, idiots like us trying to guess what's going to happen week 1, week 2? What's that experience like for you?
It's pretty surreal just to hear you guys just say my name and know who I am. I think at the beginning when those little promos came out and only a couple of us got them, everyone was like, what is this witch? Is she the first boot? Because she's giving first boot energy. I'm just, pretending to predict the future. So I was happy to hear all that because of course I know that I'm not the first boot. It was also really interesting with Miles as well. Everyone thought that he was going to be the first boot. So that was just hilarious. Listening to the drafts were very, very funny. Very, very funny because, we're listening to them together and go, you've got some stacked teams here, just stacked groups. It was honestly just very surreal. I think at that time I was so open to everyone being like, what is this? Who is she? Is this really a job? She seems really kooky, because I knew on the show I wasn't going to come across as kooky, and I knew that my reads were going to be correct. And I really loved the way that they made other people look crazy because I was, telling the truth about Kent and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I was taking it all on board. It was absolutely incredible to hear everyone's predictions, and not many of them were right. At all. So that was very fun. Poor Candy, Rip Candy. We love justice for Candy, but everyone was obsessed with her, and I was like, oh no, oh no. Yeah, but it was hilarious. It was really funny.
I've had a plenty of winner pick. First, I think my first season of drafting Australian Survivor, I believe I picked was that, did I pick? No, I didn't pick Brianna. Good
Yeah,
child.
she
Or
was
no,
really
no, oh, I did.
Yeah.
And she was the second boot. So that was a lot of fun. But we,
She was
we,
cool, though. So I
she
see where
was
you were going
cool.
with
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it, but it's neither here nor there. It's a lot of fun doing the stuff. But tell us a little bit about, how you found yourself on an island out there in Samoa. Like, what is your Survivor journey?
So when I was younger, I was obsessed with the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just rewatch it over and over and over again. My parents didn't know a lot about Survivor at the time. They're like, oh, I've heard of a TV show where people are hungry on an island and playing a game. So maybe watch this instead, because you're getting a little too obsessed with the Hunger Games. And they showed me American Survivor, and I just watched straight from the beginning, first season, all the way up to where I was, which was like 2016 at the time. I don't know what season that was. And I just became hooked. I became totally obsessed with it. The strategy behind it, I think the social game behind it, and then all of the different countries, South African Survivor, Australian Survivor, and what it could show about that society and what that society values. I found that really interesting, and the whole kind of social dynamic behind it. And then, I applied for Titans versus Rebels, and I got absolutely nowhere. Nothing. I think at the time I was being like really general about who I was, because we didn't know the season. So I was just like, I can be everything. Whereas this time when I applied, I honed in on one very specific aspect of my personality, which got me to be starving on an island, just like I'd watched for years and years and years.
I love it. Did you have any like favorite players of the past that you looked at in terms of modeling your own strategy off of, or be inspired by them when you think about your game?
I have been very good friends with George, King George. He helped me get onto the show, which was just crazy, because now he's a great friend of mine. But I think what I learned from him is things only work for very specific people. I'll use Nash as an example. Nash tried to model his game off of George.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nobody works for George. That's not going to work for anybody else. In saying that, specifically with Australian Survivor, I loved Eden from Titans versus Rebels, and I wasn't ever going to mirror what Eden did, but I really loved his style of gameplay, which I thought would be very similar to me, which is very social, but I can handle the strategy as well. I know that I can back myself when it comes to the strategy, similar way to Eden. I mean, the Coven was definitely inspired by the Black Widow Brigade. We all got together talking about our love for Survivor, and we were like, should we make our own Black Widow Brigade? And it was definitely inspired by that. We didn't want to call it the Black Widow Brigade, but we were trying to find a similar name with a similar kind of ethos.
Well, Witch's Coven is definitely iconic. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. We did not expect it to be as iconic as it was.
Really?
No, at the time, I didn't even know if it was going to get shown. And I think one of the big reasons it did was because we each had a massive hand in each other's downfall. But at the beginning, once it kind of broke, we didn't really do anything with it. But then once we each kind of voted each other out, that's when we were like, ooh, this could be really interesting. But at the time, we had absolutely no idea that it was going to be as iconic as it has been.
Yeah. Well, Alex and I were definitely like, as soon as it came together, we were like, oh yes, this is the team that we want to see go. Obviously, it didn't quite end up that way, but you also got broken up midway through, so it happens. But
yes,
one thing that we always like to ask, right? Getting on the show, we often don't realize as people watching the show all that goes on behind the scenes between the production side of it. But for you, what was something that surprised you being on the other side of our TV screens?
That's a great question. I think they're really not messing around. Like, it's really like there's no extra protein bars. There's nothing behind the scenes. What you see is what you get. And of course, I thought, it's a TV show. They're probably OH&S, right? They have to protect us in some way, right? Nope. We are star. Ha, 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 ha. And I really thought, fingers crossed, there might be a protein bar here and there, and there just is not. They are not messing around when it comes to what they are giving us. And I remember I got hypothermic on like the second night because
man.
my clothes were just so cold. And thank God I was sleeping next to Cara and the doctor, and I was having this kind of seizure because all the blood had rushed to my vital organs, and my arm just whacked her. I wasn't like really aware of it, and I whacked her in my sleep, and I woke her up and she went, "Oh my God, you're having a hypothermic reaction." And the next day the doctor was like, "You guys need a tarp." And I was like, yeah, we lost that. Do you remember yesterday? We actually lost that. Remember Max snagged the thing? I can't get a tarp. I can't run to get a tarp. So what do you want me to do? It's really, they're not joking. Yeah, I got hypothermic.
Wow. That's insane. So that first challenge, though, I'm curious, when it got caught, were all of you just like, yeah, we're done? This is over?
Pretty much.
Okay.
That challenge went for so long.
Really?
Like, so long. The way that we interpreted it was that you couldn't lift someone above your shoulders. You had to use those sandbags. But I honestly think it went on for so long. They were like, lift her, just lift her. Okay. By the time it got to the snagging of the sandbag, what they also didn't show is that the Brawns started doing it first with socks.
Oh.
They took the shoes, tied their socks together and started doing it first, and we were copying them. And I've rewatched it a couple of times, and you can kind of see Ben on the side doing it first. But as soon as it got snagged, we were like, we're done. Like, we're not even going to try, because at that point you have to split the rope, get the key through the rope, and then keep hitting the key. And so we can't even get the key. How are you going to get a key through a rope?
Yeah.
Like, impossible. That was a 1 in a million shot as well. So from then on, any throwing challenge, we're like, Max, you have to get this because you got that. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
In the world, right? Because that was a 1 in a million shot.
I love it. So I'm curious too, early on, at least from our vantage point, the first week or so, you were kind of in the edit, the strategic force of the Brains tribe. You know, you're the one bringing the witches coming together. We had you, Logan, and Rich together. Did you feel that way those first couple of days of like, yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in control right now or leading the strategy of this tribe?
I did, yes. I think my plan going in was to kind of create a spider web of alliances. So I meet someone, we're best friends, we agree that we're best friends, split. Then find a new best friend. We agree that we're best friends, split, to create like this kind of web of information. And it worked really well. I had Logan, and then we agreed we're good, split. I got Rich, she got Max, split. Rich was so close with Kaylin. And then it kind of, I think because we really hit the ground running, everybody else was just had to keep up. I do feel like in the first couple of days, I think Logan and I were people that felt really comfortable really quickly, and everyone else, while they're trying to find their feet, we got the lay of the land as soon as possible. And yeah, that whole kind of first vote with Indy and everything, that was really a lot of me going around and like organizing it and flipping it from Miles to Indy. Yeah, within the first couple of days, you could tell there was we're definitely on the Brains tribe. There's some nerds. Miles, which I really don't love. But we did kind of join a group of like kind of the most extroverted of the extroverts. Whereas those people that kind of like struggled to keep up right at the beginning, like AJ and Karen and even like Indy, they had to like match us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So definitely like at the beginning. Not intentionally, that was not my intention. I thought everyone was going to be able to form bonds as quickly as I could, but I think you can see throughout the whole thing, Logan and I were just really strong socially.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, kind of to that point, what brought you and Logan together early on, right? Because that was a defining relationship of the season.
Yeah. I think it is just an energy. I mean, one of the first things that she said to me was that she just had an aura reading or a tarot reading just before she came out. And I was like, great, you're with me. You know that you're going to listen to me. You're going to understand where I'm coming from. You're going to value my opinion. And that's what I wanted, is I wanted people around me that were going to value my opinion and kind of listen to my intuition. So yeah, when she said that to me first, I was like, great, done. We're sorted. You and I. done. And yeah, ever since then, we have just been like stuck together like glue. We have matching tattoos. We're very, very lucky that Survivor brought us together. But I honestly do think that the universe would have brought us together another way if we hadn't met on Survivor.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, it really, like, the whole kind of buddy system of the season, it really kind of defined these relationships. For you, you know, knowing that he wins, obviously, Miles is like on the bottom of that Brains tribe. Was like his, like, you know, we kept getting told he's playing way too hard. Was that just like an edit thing, or was he truly like over the top? Your facial expression
downplays how hard that man went. Like, the edit seriously downplays how far on the bottom he was.
Yeah.
The very first night, I wake up to, Laura, do you want to stretch chat? No, Miles, I'm trying to sleep. Okay. Logan, do you want to stretch chat? No, Miles. Okay. Max, do you want to stretch chat? No, Miles. Like, the whole group, and we all just went, no, Miles. And they go, okay. 20 minutes later, Laura, what about now? No, Miles. I'm trying to sleep. Like, he just hit the ground so hard. He often says that his friends don't know a lot about Survivor, so he was just so happy to be meeting people that had the same passion that he had. But he also cannot read social cues to save his little life. So yeah, no, he was so far on the bottom. It was kind of a joke. Operation Play It Cool, which you hear in the first, couple episodes, was so necessary. We just like, sit down, shut up. I don't know how many times I've told that boy to sit down, shut up. Friendship in our Survivor journey. He was so far on the bottom that I think the edit does Indy a bit of a disservice because they were really quite far at the bottom. It shows that she's blowing up her game and she just falls down there. But her and Miles had a really special friendship, but they only really had each other.
Yeah.
He was so far gone. He had no one. He didn't have AJ at that point. AJ is a social butterfly. AJ was loved by all at the beginning. He was so far at the bottom that the edit didn't really show it because it would make no sense. It would just make no sense because you can't show him at 4 a.m., singing and humming and trying to wake people up. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Well, so real quick then, what about Miles? What about him? It was the reason you wanted to save him at that first tribal council or flip the vote to save him?
I wanted to surround myself with some people who knew Survivor really, really well and some people who didn't know it well at all. And I could tell that he was as big as a super fan as I am. I'm much better at hiding it. But he was such a big super fan that I just thought, I can't let this kid go second. It would break my heart to let him go because he can't read social cues. But then that's also somebody that I'd like to keep around because I really can read social cues and he's so receptive. He's so self-aware. You can say you're being arrogant, you're being loud, you need to sit down, shut up, and he will. And there's not a lot of people like that, that play the game of Survivor that can take it, that don't have the ego. And, we hear it right at the end that he was at the bottom with a smile, and he was the whole time. And I just thought this is somebody that I think could be really useful in the whole game. But such a rare personality trait to be so self-aware when he is doing those things. And we all also just got along really, really well. I didn't take offense when he, I think it shows in the first episode, we had a well chat. And the first thing that he said to me was, you're going to get cut first if we go to tribe swap, and I'm going to get cut first because we're going to be the weaker links. Yeah. And I think anybody else may have taken offense to that. But personally, I was like, no, he's right. He's right. We're with the Brawns. And I like that he is brave enough to tell me. So I really liked his honesty as well. And I just thought, if I can use this social capital that I've kind of gained over the last few days, I'm going to try my hardest. To have someone who's so willing to be a split as well is really nice to have around, because from then on Brains 1.0, we're like, you're the split, Miles. I'd say three names, like your name's coming out, but these three people are voting for you, but you're just the split. You go, yeah, okay. And that's pretty rare to have in Survivor someone that's willing to be the split.
Yeah. We're seeing that in US Survivor right now, is like people like, they don't want to have their name at all associated with that. And I do think Miles did a great job of willingly, he put himself on the bottom, and he didn't complain about it. Right. He was there, and he played out of it. So that, oh man. Yeah. That is really insightful about the annoyance piece. And people forget all the time, like how you interact, especially early in those days, really impacts. Like, it's not just about strategic thinking. It's how you getting along with people. So.
He's so annoying. At the finale, when we met all of his friends, they came up to me, and the first question they all asked was he that annoying? And I went, he was so much worse. They're like, yeah, no, I can imagine. Or the first question was like, was it bad? And I was like, it was bad.
So good. So one more question, at least I have before we talk kind of about the swap and merge and things like that. On topic of Miles, one of the biggest tribal councils pre-merge was when Ali went home. We had the advantage. 2 people got sent away, and that was kind of the emergence of the Graduate Alliance. From our vantage point as fans, it seemed like the Graduates were totally undercover the entire way through that. Did you have any clue that these 5 were working together?
So you can see in the tribal when Rich goes over that I'm saying to Logan and Ali, there's a minority forming. And we need to keep our numbers. I could see that there was a group forming, but I didn't quite know who was in it, because one of the things that the Graduates did really well is they never spoke as a 5, ever. You never, ever see them as a 5. So I knew there was a group forming, but I didn't quite know who was in it. I could have never, ever guessed that Kaylin was in it, because I thought Kaylin was close to Rich. So you can see me saying something's happening. So we need to keep our numbers. And one of the reasons that Max sent me home from that tribal was because he didn't think I would vote out Miles, because I've just spent the last, 3 days trying to save Miles. My whole beginning game is me just trying to save people. And so he didn't think I would vote out Miles. So that's why he sent me back, which my relationship with Miles isn't really getting shown a whole lot. But that's why he sent me back. And when I got sent back with Karen, that's when I found out exactly who was in this alliance. I didn't know there was a name to it, but she kind of divulged that there was an alliance that I wasn't in, and that potentially Kaylin was in it. And thank God swap happened the next day, because I do think I was probably close to that chopping block. Yeah.
Well, sometimes the swap comes at bad times, and sometimes it's great times. But also for you, though, the swap maybe was a little bit bittersweet, because you ended up on the bottom of a Brain v Brawn pairing. So for all of us Survivor fans, right? Swap it is an iconic moment. Like, it's, it shakes up the game. What are you thinking about as soon as like the swap is happening? Is it like, oh, thank God, and immediately following with like, oh God, no? Like, walk us through your mindset throughout that experience.
Yeah. As soon as it came to, drop your buffs, we're swapping, I was so excited. Just that I'd gotten to that stage of the game. I was so proud. And then the numbers start coming in. Okay, who do I want to be with? Who do I want to separate? This is all happening very quickly. It's all like, happening. I see everyone start to spread. And I was one of the first people that got to pick a new buff. I'm back on the Brains tribe, not happy about that, because the other group had those blankets and a tarp. And I was not happy to be back on that terrible Brains beach in the pig pen. But I think the only other person on the Brains mat was Ben. And I thought, okay, like I haven't really experienced like a dad kind of vibe in Survivor so far. So I'm excited to kind of go down that avenue. But then as soon as every single one of my allies is on the other side, I have Max, who's declared war on Miles, who has been on the bottom this entire time, and Zara, who I've just suggested we vote out. Everybody knows that I've just thrown out Zara's name. And she just voted out Ali. Great.
A perfect situation.
Not good. And then the Brawns that we get swapped with were happy family in an alliance. Like their alliance didn't split. Like Ben, Jesse, Kate and Morgan, those 4 have been working together the entire time, have gone to tribal council twice with very easy tribal councils in Candy and Nash. I was like, I'm screwed. I'm honestly screwed because the other 3 have kind of ammunition at me, and I have ammunition at them if I want to use it. But yeah, it was not a good swap for me at all. Miles, Max, and Zara were potentially the 3 worst people for me to get swapped with.
Yeah. That makes sense. But you made it through, right? So like, what was your strategy going in, knowing?
Well, we know that. We know that.
It's because my social game's incredible. I just, as soon as I saw Kate and Morgan, I was like, great, I can find my way in. I think the 20-somethings club has been something that a few people have said since the season ended, and that's exactly what I did with Kate and Morgan. They did not want to talk about strategy at all, at all. If we went, Noonan, bless her heart, did the most frustrating thing, which worked for her, but didn't work for me, which was she told them, we don't need to strategize unless we're going to tribal council, because she wanted to kind of work her way through. And they listened because they didn't know Survivor. So if I brought up anything before we went to tribal council, and we missed 2 tribal councils in a row, so that's about 7 days.
Wow.
Nothing. They didn't want to talk about strategy at all. And it was like pulling teeth to try and find out if she likes Ben and Jesse, or if PD is with them, or how did Candy go home, guys? And they wouldn't tell me because it was them. But they wouldn't tell me. And so I just had to be friends with them and talk about social lives. And, you know, they're both very cool. I love Kate and Morgan. They're both very, very cool, influency kind of girls, and I'm not like that. So I'm just like lying through my teeth being like, yeah, I've been to Melbourne Fashion Week. Yeah. I'm cool enough to get invited to that. Yeah, I can run. Like, should I run? No, but I can. You know, I'm trying to bond with Morgan. Kate's talking about her DJ stuff. I'm like, I went to a club in 2019 once. Like, is that what you do? Like, I'm trying to bond with them. And it was like pulling teeth, but Max was brilliant with them. He was just slotted straight into the brawns. There was a couple days there where they would sit, all the brawns would sit on the beach. Zara, Miles, and I would be in the shelter. And the only person they would let sit down was Max. Wow. I'd walk over, I'd sit down on the beach. They'd all stand up and walk away. And I was like, okay. But Max was allowed in for some bizarre reason. Max was allowed in. So when Max eventually goes home, that was just the most shocking thing. Like, honestly, did not see that coming at all.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and I think that relationship with Kate and Morgan shows your adaptability in kind of social games so well, right? Of, hey, the ideal situation is I can strategize with them right now, try to get in. I can't do that. So what's the next best thing? Let me bond. And so really appreciate that. I mean, I think that's a testament to your game, and it's huge here. I'm curious though. So Max did go home. From your vantage point, I mean, did you have a sense of why out there, or what was kind of your reasoning there?
Yeah. I think that when going into that challenge where AJ claims he has hostages,
I've got questions about that too.
I think the Brawns were so willing to throw that because Miles was so clearly going home.
Yeah.
If he was bad on Brains 1.0, boy, was he bad on Brains 2.0, and didn't have the adaptability to tell that they did not want to talk to him. Yeah. He was so clearly going home, which is, I think, why they were so willing to throw. And then when he found that idol, my brain goes, oh my God, this is an opportunity now. He plays the idol. They have to split. We can do something. But I think Kate and Morgan, this is a testament to them. They noticed that the boys were letting Max in, and Max was slowly rising through the ranks of this small Brawn alliance. And they didn't like that. And that's a real testament to Kate, who could tell that Max was getting let in far too quickly.
Yeah.
And in that kind of Brawn group, it was always Kate and Morgan versus 3 separate boys. So their votes always kind of had a little bit more say, unless the 3 boys kind of came together. And so, when Kate suggested Max, the boys that didn't know Survivor very well, especially Jesse, he was like, okay, well, I guess we'll just do that. And it was the most shocking thing. I mean, Jesse fooled Max so well that he didn't play his idol, which is just beyond me. Like how he fooled him so well. And the whole afternoon, I'm saying, they're going for you.
Right.
It has to be you. And I didn't know that to be a fact. I just was trying to scare him into sticking to the brains.
Yeah.
I didn't actually think that they were going for him. I thought they were going for Zara. But I was just trying to terrify him into trying to stick with us. That afternoon, I came back to Miles. I was like, sit down, shut up. If anybody asks you who you're playing that idol for, you say me, Zara, or Laura. Got it? And he goes, got it. Okay. Sitting there, like, repeating it to himself. Not to Max and go, you listen here. Miles is never going to play that idol for you. You have to stick with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Max just felt so safe. I think because he had the idol, it kind of maybe warped his perception of what was happening around him. Because when not that I had an idol, but I think it may blur your ideas of what's happening around you. You're not as sharp because you have protection. And I think Jesse just fooled him far, far too well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you think either one of them would play the idol for you at that tribal council?
For sure. I think if I'd asked Miles to play it for me, he may have. I was trying to convince him to play it for Zara, knowing that he would go home. I know for a fact, Max would have played that idol for me if I needed it. The final chat that you see in that scramble is Max saying, I've got you. It's you and me. We're going to do it. And that was my confirmation that I think I should flip. And it kind of gave me an insight that he may have had one because he was so willing to protect me and he was so sure. And I did think at the end of that chat, he had an idol because he was like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to do this for you. It's you and me to the end. And I totally believed him. And I know now that he really was telling the truth. And if I'd asked Max to play an idol for me, he 1,000% would have. Yeah.
I think Miles owes you a beer or 7.
Right? He owes me so many. But that man saves money. Like he's not a big spender. He really, really isn't. I don't think he's ever shopped at a shop that's not an op shop, like ever. We came to Melbourne and we went to like all these thrift stores. And I was like, do you want to go into like a store where people haven't worn the things before? And he was like, he arrived on the island and his shoes already had holes in them. His pants like disintegrated within like 2 days. And that's why you got all the scenes of people going, Miles, I can see your balls. Because his pants really did disintegrate within 2 days of arriving because they're from a thrift store. Like he doesn't spend money. So I'm sure he'll buy me a beer if I take his credit card. And that's the only way it's going to work. But no, I adore Miles with my whole heart.
Oh, good. That's great. Well, it sounds like
a very, very good friend. So I'm allowed to say all this because he's one of my closest friends.
For sure. Well, I mean, at least his winnings will go a long way. It sounds like so. That's great.
Yeah, it went into the best hands because he's a financial analyst. So it's his job to figure out how to save that.
Yeah, there it is. Well, that's great. Alex alluded to this earlier. We have to know because we really didn't get to see much of it in the edit outside of like Zara being like, what about us? AJ's hostage proclamation at the challenge. Like what's going through your head? What's the conversation after the fact? One of the biggest moments of the season.
Yes. It made little to no sense at the time. I was so confused because I could understand he was doing it to save. He was threatening to get rid of these guys. I knew he wanted to save Miles, but I also thought he knows Miles and knows that Miles might be on the bottom. So this is a really odd situation to put him in. If Miles didn't find that idol, he was going home, and that could definitely be attributed to AJ's hostage plan. It made no sense because up until that point, for me, AJ was just the most lovely, kind, open human being. He's so charming. He's very, very charming. You know, he's a compliment machine. And at some point you realize, like, I don't think this guy can fake it for this long. I think he genuinely is just this nice. And so when he came out with the hostages plan, I went, who is that? And what have you done with AJ?
Something in the water over there.
You are. There's so much footage of, you know, me being asked about it and going, I don't know who that is, but that's not the AJ I know. Mm-hmm. And he had such an interesting, what's the word? Like difference between his social game and then his strategic game. Like his social game was really, really kind and caring and, you know, how do you feel? And then his strategic game was hostages, which, you know, he may not have said it a couple times, but he actually did a few more times. But he didn't say the word hostages, did he? Like with Kate and Morgan, he's trying to protect them. He's going to throw other people under the bus. He kind of did the hostages plan a couple times without using that word. And it's really bizarre. It was weird. And it definitely put me in a tricky spot because it sent Max home.
Yeah.
Max was not going to go home. But I think they wanted to show AJ that if you're going to threaten us, we're going to do it. The Brawns were like playing. Yeah, it was not fun. It was weird. And then from then on, I was like, you have to throw every challenge now because you sent Max home. Every single challenge, I was like, throw, because I'm going home, AJ. But he was protecting Miles and Zara and trying to get rid of Max and I, for sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I watching that, I had just so much empathy for you and Zara. It's like, oh my gosh, like what do you do now? You know, at that challenge, I'm just a larger target has been put on you.
Exactly. Yeah, and it also showed like the Brawns' loyalty to Paulie and Noonan and Kristen and Ursula, and highlighted even more that they didn't want to work with us.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I think the Brawns were a little bit scared of AJ. So how Kate and Morgan forgot about that, I have absolutely no idea. But like from then on, all of the Brawns were really wary of him. So I think it worked for him in some ways and didn't work for him in others.
Yeah.
And don't try and be George. Don't try and be George.
that should have been like the tagline of the season. Don't try and be George.
Don't try and be George.
Yeah. There's one, right?
No one else can do it. And even George, sometimes you're like, whoa.
You're being too much like George.
Yeah.
Good. Well, let's move into the merge, right? It's obviously an iconic moment for Survivor players. For you, as you kind of like jump into the merge, who are you most excited to kind of get back with? Obviously Logan, but how are you keeping track of all the shifting alliances and what's your strategy for the merge?
I'm feeling pretty comfortable coming into the merge. I'm very happy to reunite with Logan. I'm feeling very, very good with my position with Kate and Morgan. And so my plan was to kind of bring us together. Something that they didn't show, which I really wish they did, was so we had Girls Gone Wild with Kate, Morgan, Zara, and myself. And then the whole Zara debacle happened. And she left. And we swapped Girls Gone Wild for Girls Gone Miles. And we pulled Miles in and we're like, we want to do a Girls Gone Miles. And that was an alliance I really wanted to move forward with.
Yeah.
Kate, Morgan, and Miles. I feel like my spider web had worked for me quite well. I knew I wasn't going to be the first couple votes. But I found out when I met Paulie that apparently I had a huge target on my back. That was just like beyond me because he was like, no, AJ's been talking highly about you. And I was like, oh no, what has he been saying? And Paulie was like, you know, he thinks you're going to win, that we can't get Logan and Laura back together. And, you know, Logan comes and runs and hugs me first. So I knew we had a target on our back, but I was pretty comfortable with my social standing. I thought I could navigate it through. There were clearly cracks in the graduates. Karen was very upset at AJ. And I could tell that her relationship with Logan had really strengthened, to the point where she was talking to Logan more than she was talking to Zara. I could never pull Logan and Karen apart.
Wow.
So I was happy with that. I was like, okay, great. Well, then maybe the coven can come back together because I'm willing to forgive Zara. So I was pretty happy with where Merge started, for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
Real quick follow-up question. Merge, you and Logan reconnecting. She whispers to you, I have an idol. I mean, what's going through your head at that point? Did anyone else hear? I mean, from us, we're sitting on our couch like, why did you just say that? But assuming she would tell you eventually, I mean, what was going on at that point?
Nobody else heard. Good. Nobody else heard. It was just us. But then I find out that she found it with Karen and Kaylin.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene that's not shown where I'm at the well with Logan and Kristen, and she shows us her idol. And she's using it as a friendship kind of connector with me and Kristen. She's like, I want to show you guys that I want to move forward with you two. And so here's my idol. I'm willing to play it for any of you. And I knew if I needed it, she definitely would have played that idol for me. So I was pretty comfortable with it. But by the time I figured out that it was a semi-public idol, that's when I started to get kind of worried because I did not trust Kaylin or Karen not to tell people. So you have to assume by that point, everybody knows about it.
Yeah. Which good call, because Kaylin did tell, right? So
Karen told, Zara knew.
Yeah.
Zara knew.
Which, speaking of Zara, I can't believe I mixed over this in my notes. I have to ask you about the Zara advantage gate of this kind of finding it at the well. Obviously that is like they intentionally with the edit wanted to leave some confusion around what exactly happened.
Yes.
What happened at the well and that led and then ultimately led to Zara, strong arming you in that tribal council.
Yes. So about 2 minutes before we had to leave for tribal council, maybe 30 seconds before we had to leave for tribal council, I go to fill up my water bottle to prepare, and I find it. And it's like a knowledge is power. No one's going home. Someone's getting sent to the other side. And if I'm totally honest, instincts just kicked in. I could only think of me being sent to the other side. There was absolutely no world in which I wanted to reunite Jesse and Paulie because I knew they were close. And my instinct was just get me out of this sinking ship because I didn't trust Kate and Morgan at that time, really. It seemed like I'd been pulling teeth to get a name from them for 9 days. And then they suggest Jesse, who to my eyes is probably their closest ally outside of each other. So it seemed very bizarre to me that they wanted to go for Jesse, and it really sounded like a decoy name to me. Yeah. I now know that they were telling the truth, but at the time I can't assume that. So I also didn't know that I was the split. If I had known or that they wanted to go for me, I'd just say to Kate and Morgan, flip your vote to me.
Yeah.
Like that simple, but I had no idea that they wanted me gone. I thought they wanted Miles. Yeah. So my brain just goes into panic mode, and I thought I could flip Miles at tribal council to vote for me. I can flip Kate and Morgan at tribal council to vote for me. Super easy. All three of them I can just whisper and they won't question it. Zara is the only one would question it. So I had to tell her sooner. And we bonded so much over the Brains 2.0. We were super, 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 super close. Miles was, putting his foot in it. And the Brawns were really close. Like Zara and I, at that point, she was close to my number one. So I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to abandon her because I thought they were going for her. I really just thought I can't let her vote for Jesse and then show all of her cards to the Brawns. I don't know when Merge is coming. So I thought I'm just going to tell her out of courtesy is not the right word, but kindness, I guess, because that's who I am. And yeah, she was not happy.
Yeah.
She was not happy. And then tribal council comes. Again, we go straight to tribal council. And I thought the plan was set. I thought she was okay. And she just whispers, I'm not letting you go. And I went, what do you mean? You have to. You have to. This is mean. It's just like, you're not deserting me. And she whispered, and they didn't show, if you don't tell everyone right now, I'm going to tell everyone you found it days ago.
Oh,
and I go,
okay.
Don't do that. Don't do that. So that's when I openly said it to everyone, because I wanted to control the narrative. I didn't want her. She could come out and say anything. And she later did, saying to the Brawns that we found it together, which I did not know about until I watched that episode.
Oh.
I did not know that she told the Brawns that we found it together. So I just wanted to control the narrative and, like announce to everyone that I think I should get sent over, because this whole time I've been priming Kate and Morgan for, when we get to merge, I've got you. When we get to merge, I've got you. This is the preliminary merge. Let me show you that I've got you. I also thought I had a close relationship with Ben, and I thought he would be the one that I could get over. He's very into witchy stuff. He saw he has a friend that's a witch that he saw just before he came out. And so we really bonded on that kind of stuff. And I thought if I'd asked Miles to vote for me, he would. But against Zara, I totally understand why he didn't. I was upset at Zara for sure. But my mentality was, okay, we're ramping up the game. Okay, let's ramp up the game. You're going to take it to the next level? I'll take it to the next level. So yeah, she got sent over. And when we got back to camp, I turned the whole tribe against her. I was like, I'm not doing that. That's why Jesse votes for Zara. The first Jesse and Paulie votes for
That's okay.
Because I told him to. I was like, I wanted to continue working with Zara. I knew I wasn't her number one, but I kind of liked the fact that she was so ruthless. Yeah. Even if it was against me, I was like, okay. I now know you have the ability to do that. Yeah, respect. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I turned the whole tribe against her. I was like, Miles, totally understand why you voted for her. Makes total sense. PD, they had a very close relationship, PD and Zara. Totally understand why you did that. No disrespect. Ben and Jesse, you guys are screwed. You guys are screwed. He's not going to advocate for you. And now I'm not going to either. You two are going to be the next two votes. I went, it's going to go bang, and it's going to go bang. You know what happened next? Bang. I was like, you guys are absolutely screwed, because now I don't care about you. Sorry. Yeah. It was harsh, but it wasn't unforgivable on my end. I kind of respected it. I do think that it was unforgivable. Like Logan's such a heart-led player, which I love. And we kind of already had things we didn't love about Zara's gameplay. So I think from then on, Logan's like, I do not want to work with Zara, which I understood. Yeah, the harshness was not, because Logan wasn't there, and all she heard was that I could have gone, and now Zara's here in the middle of the night. Logan wasn't happy.
Fair enough.
So I'm curious too, describe. So every year we kind of see an evolution of strategy, right? Of each season kind of brings their own strategy. I think this season had a lot of challenge throwing, but it also had this duos, the pairs, especially at the merge. Why do you think you and Logan were kind of the biggest target of these pairs, or were you the biggest target?
I don't actually think we were. I think that there were kind of juicier targets in Kate and Morgan, and even Zara and Karen, who were never willing to write down each other's names. Now, I'm going to eat that with the fact that Karen does write down Zara, but they were openly saying that they weren't going to write down each other's names. Whereas Logan and I were very willing to. We understood if when it came to a point we were going to vote each other out, I wanted her on the jury. I said to Miles, you cannot go for Logan until jury starts. And he was like, okay. And I don't think there were. I think that Logan and I were the biggest targets because our social games were so good. Yeah. Whereas each other partner had, like Miles and AJ. AJ had the social game. Zara and Karen Karen had the social game,
Mhm.
and Zara had the strategy. Kate and Morgan, they kind of were just going with whoever could lead them the longest. And I think that we were such a big target because we had the strategy and we had the social game, and we kind of had everything that a duo needs to move forward. And there wasn't one person screwing up and somebody else cleaning up after them. We kind of could do everything together. And the duo, in saying that, I do think you need a duo with different skills. We had the same skills, and that's what I think got us in trouble. We needed, I've been talking to Miles about, like, there's social gamers and strategy gamers. A strategy game will not have a lot of paths, but the paths they have are very thought out, very methodical, and are chosen. For example, Zara is a strategy gamist. She only had a couple people that she put her eggs in the basket of, in AJ and Karen, and they were the correct baskets. Whereas Karen had a lot of open, she wanted to work with Kristen, Zara, the graduates, the coven. She had options. Same thing in AJ and Miles. Miles had a very small group of people he was willing to work with, openly didn't want to work with some people, whereas AJ was a very open book. Whereas Logan and I had like a bit of both. She's a very intelligent girl. I knew I could back myself when it came to the strategy. So we both kind of had the same way of handling things. And in that way, a blind spot occurred. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I also wonder too, right? If you're telling people that, hey, I'll vote out Logan whenever you want me to, that's fine. I wonder if people saw that, if you're both saying it, well, the other person's not going to burn me if I vote their partner out. So like, I'm going to go target one of them versus the people that might refuse to work with me after the fact.
Potentially.
So,
potentially.
That's an interesting dynamic, right? To have to navigate. Oh man. But yeah, you and Logan definitely, I like what you said too about like how we're playing a similar game and we're doing kind of do it all. And so that is a scary from a standpoint of the other players. Interesting. But unfortunately it could have been you, it could have been Logan, and Logan ends up surviving. But we got to talk about, right, the idle play on Miles, because Miles came up with shocking moment after shocking moment in this season, and perhaps your vote out being one of the most shocking of all. So walk us through that tribal council, Miles playing that idol for Polly.
Yes. So the PD vote.
Yes. Sorry, the PD vote. Yeah.
Was so well insulated. Everyone wanted to work with PD and Kristen. Kind of especially after he hurt his arm, because then he could never win individual immunity. And he was the perfect person to take because you could just get rid of him at any point knowing that he would never actually be safe.
For sure.
And so as soon as he hurt his arm and he bumped straight to the top of everybody's keep list, that's when I was like, ooh, I think that, we need to start talking about getting rid of PD. And it was a half measure on my behalf because I suggest his name, I get the numbers for his name, and then I could not for the life of me separate Logan and Karen. They were walking everywhere together, and I just needed to get Logan by herself to tell her I'm going to do it. I don't need her vote, but I'm just going to tell her I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I told Karen as well because I couldn't separate them. And they both were staunch. No, we want Kristen. We can't upset Kristen. We want Kristen. And I thought it would be better to move forward with Kristen, PD, Logan, Zara, and Karen with a very wishy-washy Miles, AJ, who I don't really trust. We'd never worked together ever. Paulie, who apparently everyone doesn't like. Kate and Morgan, who were just like kind of floating. And Caitlin, I don't even know where he sat. He was spearfishing. So like, one side seemed really solid to me and the other side seemed really, really wishy-washy. So I was like, I'm going to go with the more solid side, but a half measure on my behalf, telling Miles. Now, also what they didn't show is I knew about his advantage.
Oh, okay.
I knew about it. But the way he described it to me, I understood it as an idol nullifier. I didn't think it was an idol stealer because we've never seen an idol stealer before, but we have seen many idol nullifiers.
Yeah.
So I was like, I understood it as an idol nullifier. If I had known it was a stealer, I would have told Logan and made her give me the idol. because
Mm.
he would say, like, you know, I'd move the idols around if I had known that it was a stealer, because once you say give me your idol and Kristen goes, I don't have it, then he can't play it anymore. That's done.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if I had known that he was going to bet all of his eggs on Paulie, I would have done something about it. But I also thought, this is not like a hill I'm willing to die on.
Yeah.
We've seen what happens to me when I stick out my neck too far for people. Rich. I'm not going to stick out my neck for PD. I don't care who goes home between PD and Paulie. That makes no difference to me. So I'm like, okay, I'll placate Logan. I'll stay with these solid numbers. I also see that as a really good path moving forward.
Mhm.
So great. When he pulls it out, I initially think he's going to take Logan's, which I'm not mad at, because it could be used to save me.
Yeah.
But then he plays it for Paulie, and now I'm just confused. Now I'm just like, you know, I think he just saw PD as just such a big threat, which he was. He was so safe, he was so insulated, and it was probably the best move for his game, probably the best move for my game, PD going home, because it shot me further into that core group. Kristen now has no one, comes back to Logan, Karen, and therefore me. But yeah, the fallout of that was just hilarious, because everyone who wanted to work with PD, which was basically the whole tribe, just went off at Miles. It was so funny. Logan's yelling at AJ because they have, you know, a relationship where they work together. She didn't want him to lie to her. But you can see me at Tribal Council turn to Kate and Morgan and go, did you know about that? Because I'm trying to figure out their relationship to AJ.
Yeah.
And they were whispering at Tribal. That's where I started to lose my reins of like, who is working with who? Because I thought I had Kate and Morgan. AJ's getting bizarrely close to Kate and Morgan. That's when I started to get a bit blurry on who was working with who. And I think that what I should have done is gone straight to Miles and gone, I'm with you. Separate me from that side. Not just Logan, but Zara, Karen, and Kristen, because that's now diminishing numbers.
Yeah.
But instead, I locked in with that group, which I shouldn't have done. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That was thank you for clarifying that. I mixed up some of the tribal councils there, with the PD vote being when Miles played the idol, and then it's a different idol play that sends you home, right? You mentioned that you locked in with this potentially the wrong side of people, which ultimately leads to your exit. So talk to us about kind of that final tribal council for you. Did you have an inkling that you were going to be a target? Like, yeah, what was it for you?
So confirmation bias is a real thing in Survivor. And when Zara and Karen say we're so annoyed at Miles and AJ for doing that, that makes total sense to me. I understand why they're annoyed, because they really wanted to move forward with PD. As I said, Zara is very close with PD. And it makes total sense to me why they're upset about it.
Yeah.
And Karen's already kind of angry at AJ. It's confirmation bias that, in my mind, when they say, let's go for AJ and Miles next, I go, sure, great, let's go for AJ next. Me trying to say, let's not go for Miles. Annoyed. Anyway, we'll get to that. Logan was really set on getting rid of AJ. It made total sense to me to get rid of AJ, considering he's been hyping up my target and talking about me. And I really just thought that everyone was so annoyed at them for doing that and for being messy and for being chaotic. And we love messy and chaotic in Survivor, but not when it's not a group decision. You know, like, we can be messy as an alliance, but if two of an alliance of 5 is messy, that's when it can get very annoying. It made total sense to me that they wanted to get rid of them. So it was just confirmation bias, and they just were lying to us for days. Zara and Karen specifically were lying to us for days about how annoyed they were at AJ. And I had no reason to believe that they weren't annoyed at AJ. So I walk into that tribal thinking AJ's going, makes total sense that AJ's going. I was in as many chats as I'm usually in. And yeah, we sit down at tribal, and Karen, I didn't hear this again. Kara whispers to Logan to play your idol. She then turns to me and says, Karen just told me to play my idol. And my brain just stops. And I went, what do you mean? What do you mean? I really thought I'd done enough to not be the split with Miles. I really, really thought that I'd worked hard enough on our relationship to not be the split vote. But you can see me immediately turning to my left, turning to my right. Who did you vote for? Who did you vote for? I turned to Kate and Morgan. Who did you vote for? They just kind of shake their head. I turned to Zara because I trust Zara, going, who did you vote for? And it looks like she just ignores me. But she goes, AJ. And I go, okay. They cut out that 10 minutes of me going, huh? What? He's trying to figure stuff out. And everyone's just kind of looking down. And I really thought I'd done enough to not be the split. I thought either Paulie would be the split. It makes sense why he wasn't. Miles wasn't going to sacrifice someone that he just spent a massive advantage saving. I thought maybe Kristen would be the split, considering her buddy's gone and it's not going to upset anyone. But yeah, it was a total blindside. It was a total shock. It made a lot of sense to me why Karen told Logan, because they were so close. They'd spent 9 days together on Brawn. I could see how close they were. I was not upset at Karen at all. I never blamed Karen, not even after I left. Did I blame Karen for telling Logan? It made sense to me. But, oh my God, was it a blindside? It was just like, open up a dictionary and look at the word blindside and you'll see a picture of my face. Like,
For sure.
I had no idea. And they, again, after the votes are read, Laura, come get your torch. I'm still sitting there going, where, who, how, what, how? It was just the most shocking thing. I do think that if Karen hadn't told Logan to play her idol, she would not have played her idol. We were feeling pretty comfy. Yeah.
Well, sorry, Alex. What question? That's me. People when they get voted out on the blind side, they're always like, "Oh, that's the way that you want to go out." Is that true? Having been blindsided, is that the way you want to go out?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. My first blindside of the season was when Max went home. That was the first initial shock that I ever got at a tribal council. It was pretty cool. But I would have liked to stay in the game longer, maybe never been blindsided. That would have been nice. But I was really happy to be the first member of the jury. Going in, I have a picture when I wrote down exactly what I wanted. It's in my diary, which is over there. I want to win, or I want to be the first member of the jury.
Awesome.
There you go.
And I was at that point just elated to be the first member of the jury. I just kind of... the blind side hit, the adrenaline pumped, and then I was like, food. I get food. So yes, I think that the best way to go out is a blind side, because if you hear your name and you can't do anything to change it, I feel like that would be just so frustrating. I can't get upset because I had absolutely no idea. There was nothing else I could have done. I did the best I could with the information that I had at the time. So I can't be upset.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Well, and I just admire that philosophy too, right? You had one of the most heartbreaking blindsides of the season. And so there's a world where you are bitter and you never watch Survivor again and you're saying, hell no, I don't want to talk to you two, about my game. But so really, really appreciate that. And the philosophy you had as a juror too. And one, before I have a couple questions for you as the first member of the jury, but one, I just want to acknowledge, I felt so bad for you that there was a non-elimination right after that, that you were the only one on the jury twice. It was like, as soon as JLP said tonight's a little different, I first thought of you and I was like, oh, that is awful.
Thank you. I think as soon as the game stopped, I had no information on how I went home. And how did that happen? Whose plan was that? And so I'd been thinking at that point for 3 days about how that could have happened. And as soon as he said something's a little different, I wish they showed me pretending to flip a table. I was like, more time by myself. I spent 5 days by myself in a massive hotel. The hotel was empty and it was just me. and like a Samoan chaperone. I'm just
Right.
like, what are we doing here? It was a lot. It was really interesting watching Bounty Baron and that whole thing because everyone gets up and starts talking, right? And everyone's talking about vote out. And because I had no information on how I got voted out, I'm looking at these dynamics and they make no sense. AJ is talking to Kate and Morgan. Miles is being left by himself. Like no one's talking to him. Karen's talking to like Logan. And I'm like, what is happening? It was really fascinating to watch those dynamics, having no information on actually what was truly happening. And then, it wasn't fun. You know what also they didn't show? So for my jury villa, I go to a waterfall and I do this whole rain dance. And I'm like, I want to send torrential rain to the camps. I want to send unprecedented rain to the camps. And then Bounce Baron happens. And what happens? Torrential rain. Like torrential rain. Unprecedented.
Missed opportunity. Wow. Yeah,
right?
Missed opportunity. Where is that in the edit?
Right. The next day I come to tribal council and I'm like, there's crew there. And they're like, we're terrified of you. We're truly terrified of you. We heard about the rain dance. And I was like, it was like unprecedented. No one saw it coming.
Wow.
And all of the crew ever since then, if I saw someone that I hadn't seen in a long time, like, hi, terrified of you. You can control weather. Like, it was a joke. And now you're controlling weather.
Those are the moments where the actual episode should cut to jury villa.
Yes.
Right?
Imagine.
Imagine. Meanwhile, like Baron's happening, torrential rain. I'm in bed, like,
right.
The first time that I was like, I'm kind of happy to be here. I'm kind of happy I didn't go to Baron. Especially because Logan was like so clearly on the bottom and went to Baron. I felt so bad for it. And I was like, kind of happy to be here eating Nutella in bed. Like, I'm kind of happy about that. Yeah, it was very funny. But 5 days by myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's in some ways might be nice, but no.
No. Well, no, actually it was. It was nice because you're with people constantly to get time by myself. But by the end, after reading like 3 books, I was like, I'm ready for someone else to come in. And then the next person that came in was Paulie. And poor Paulie, he was on the bottom. He was told at tribal council to write my name down. So I said, Paulie, who organized the plan? He goes, I don't know.
Damn it.
Paulie, I need information. He was like, I have nothing for you. Like, he was told at tribal what to do. No one spoke to him the whole scramble about me. So it was like, I can't help you. I needed Karen to come in. And that's when I could really
figure it out. Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah. It was hilarious.
So as the first member of the jury, one last question I have for you before we kind of wrap up a little bit, but going into final tribal council, were you open to voting for anyone? Did you know pretty sure it was going to be Miles? Were you looking for anything in particular from Kaylin or Miles to sway you?
For sure. I was very open to hearing any pitch. In saying that, I played my entire game with Miles, and I can definitely respect Miles's type of gameplay. What I wanted from Kaylin and what I think the jury wanted from Kaylin was a big mask reveal, right? We wanted you've been fooled, but it's so much harder to fool someone than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. Like we couldn't, no, it's the other way around. Yeah. We couldn't, he needed to do the mask reveal sooner.
Yeah.
Because the night before, when he's crying about voting out AJ, now you can't claim that move, because if he'd said, AJ, I've been with you the whole time, like, here we are, I knew I was always going to cut you here, now you can claim that move. But because he was so torn on what to do, and it was like a split-second decision with no strategy behind it, now you can't claim that taking out AJ. So what we wanted from Kaylin was a big mask reveal. You've been fooled. You're all so silly. Here's things that no one knew about, but everything that he was saying, there was someone on the jury to counteract, going, no, Kaylin, you told me about that. No, Kaylin, we did that together. So whereas there was many things that Miles did by himself, like tons of things that Miles did completely on his own, that he could claim and claim alone. But yeah, we just wanted a big mask reveal from Kalen. And if he'd given that mask reveal, if he was like, you've been fooled, and he convinced me that I had well and truly been lied to, I think that it would have been much more of an even vote. But he just couldn't claim he's played the best game in the whole world. And as a jury, that's not what we wanted to hear. It sounds bad. We want our egos to be stroked. We want to know how we contributed to your game. And to say that your game was great and great alone when it wasn't. If he had said, I was everyone's number one, which he was at some point, every single person on that jury trusted Kalen more than their number one. Totally. Yeah. And his social game was just immaculate. But he couldn't quite claim that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Miles could claim the things that he did. He was like, I know I'm loud. I know I'm abrasive. I know I'm bombastic, but that's what got me here. We wanted a big mask reveal and for him to tell us something we hadn't heard before.
Yeah, no, I was literally telling a friend this earlier today who we hadn't gotten to talk about it since that. He's like, yeah, I can't believe Kalen won. I was like, I think his big misstep to me in that final jury was saying that there were no mistakes in my game. Like, even if you believe that, you need to validate the jury's experience of you and their game, right? I think that Miles did that really well, right? You all experienced him as chaotic and a little annoying and not very good socially, and he says I could have done that better, right? And so going into that tribal council, it felt like Kalen needed a Christy Bennett from the first Australian Survivor
for sure
type of performance. Yeah.
But with Christy as well, I think that Lee really tanked his speech.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
That's what allowed Christy to really flourish. So Kalen needed to match Miles's speech and then some.
Yeah.
I think that he also, when it came to the questions, he just needed to claim things. He just needed to own what he did, as you were saying. But the Christy Bennett is a unicorn. That's not going to work for everyone. Not everyone's as eloquent as Christy Bennett. And what I think Kalen needed to do is remove the mask earlier, start showing us from 6, 5, 4 that he's thinking more than he is, and then either say, I played completely with my heart and that's why I cried voting out AJ, or I'm a strategic mastermind. You cannot be both.
Yeah.
You cannot claim to be this massive strategist and cry the night before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? True. And be so torn the night before about voting out your best friend. And what they didn't show, and I'm kind of glad they didn't show, is when Kalen takes Miles and AJ away, the jury's furious. Where I deserve to hear what you're saying. I have been sitting here and I deserve to know why you're doing that. This is part of your speech. I mean, AJ's just absolutely blown Miles out of the water, saying he broke the amount of the record for the amount of idols. He's broke the record for the amount of votes negated by an idol. They're already pitching at that 3.
Yeah.
And Kalen taking them away upset us because we deserve to know why you're doing what you're doing. And it's not just about the final speech. It's about how you've played this game the whole time. And we were upset. I personally, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the jury, but I personally wanted to hear why he was doing what he's doing. Because if he was so upset about voting out his best friend, that's lovely. That's such a wholesome thing. So then the next night, you can't come out and say, I'd planned it all along, when clearly you haven't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a disconnect. Yeah.
I adore Kalen. I think he did play the best social game in the entire season. He is just so good at what he does, but he claimed the wrong things.
Yeah.
And I also do think it's the jury that he's talking to. For example, I think Brains versus Brawn 1, Kalen wins.
Oh, I'd agree. Yeah.
On a jury full of Brawn, he wins. But you've got a jury full of game players and a jury full of people that wanted to play big moves and were, harsh about their moves. All of us did harsh things and wanted to come out swinging. So we liked the person who said, I came out swinging, even if I missed sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, too, one of the things we always say is that, you know, even if someone's bad move or worst move is mirrored by someone's really great move, and like, that's just a highlight. Like, Miles had a really excellent tribal council, right? Like, if Kaylin does, even if Kaylin has like an amazing, outstanding, if Miles still has the same tribal council speech and performance, I still think it's probably leaning towards him, because I do think he did a really great job telling his story and playing to the jury that he had. So
yeah, Miles had been pitching to us from 6. He had been talking directly to the jury, which annoyed the other players from 6. So was AJ. But Kaylin needed just to do the mask removal sooner. And then you can't change my opinion of you with a 20-minute TED Talk. You like, I can't change my opinion of who I've known for 47 days in 20 minutes. So it had to happen over gradual days. And, you know, his strategy was to play dumb. Don't get upset when I think you're dumb. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think Kaylin's dumb. I really don't. I think he's far smarter than I am. But it was an interesting kind of strategy from the very beginning. He needed to change our opinions far sooner. Yeah. Or put AJ and Miles on the jury sooner. They were the only 2 people that truly were advocating for him.
Yeah.
Miles, sitting next to him, was advocating for him, and so was AJ. But they were, by the time they'd gotten there, we wanted a bombastic big winner, you know?
Yeah. And it makes sense, you know, and your peers on the jury also thought that, seeing that it was a 7-1 vote. But very interesting insights. As we kind of wrap up the episode, we love everything you've shared so far. One of the things I always like to ask players, especially because it's an edited TV show, we remind our listeners of that all the time. Is there something like an experience that you had that was meaningful or fun for you that wasn't shown on our TV screens?
That's a really good question. I wish my relationship with Miles was shown a little bit more, because we were really cornerstones of each other's game. And I think it kind of would make no sense him putting me on the split if they had shown that, and it might not show him in the best light. So I wish they'd shown that. I did so many like palm readings and aura readings and like the rain dance that I kind of wish was shown. On like the 2nd or 3rd day, I did a palm reading for Zara, and I was like, "You've given birth twice," and she was like, "But I have 3 kids, Laura," and I was like. She's like, "Don't worry, they're twins." And I was like, "Oh my God, thank God." Just embarrassed myself on TV. So yeah, I wish they'd shown that. I also kind of wish they'd shown how much time I put in with Kate and Morgan. I was really working them hard, and coming into Merge, it was very obvious that they were with me. And maybe that gave me too much power, because it really did give me 2 extra votes. But I worked really, really hard with them on Brains 2.0. Enough for them to vote for me against the boys to go to the other side, to like show their cards really in that tribal council. And yeah, I really adored my relationship with them. So I wish that was shown a little bit more. And Girls Gone Miles was like, the best alliance name ever.
So
and they didn't even just I was like, oh my God, they're showing Girls Gone Wild. That means they're going to show Girls Gone Miles.
Yeah.
we did miss out on that name. That's wonderful. Good. Well, my final question for you, Laura, is what has this experience meant to you? What are you taking away having been on Survivor?
Oh, that's going to bring me to tears. I think the fact that dreams can come true is probably the biggest thing that I'm taking away, that I kind of walk throughout the world now knowing that I can do absolutely anything that I put my mind to, and that anyone can, that I really manifested this experience from the ground up. I can do anything. And it's given me a strange sense of, worth, that I am so strong, and I've been through so much, and my mind is kind of my best asset. And you get small reminders of that throughout your life, but I think this has been an experience that I can never take out of my body, and I can't I can't pull it out of my brain no matter how hard I try. It's changed who I am for the better. I think it's made me a less self-aware, like not self-aware, self-conscious person.
Yeah.
I don't care what people think about me anymore. They've seen me tumble on TV. They've seen me cry on TV. My embarrassment has kind of gone, which is really nice and a really lovely freeing thing. I feel very free. So yeah, it's just changed me completely for the better. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's so amazing to hear. And we really appreciate you sharing this story both on TV and with us here. That is, I think, I'll speak for myself and not for Alex, but I kind of speak for our both of us in that we really love hearing the story of the people behind the characters that are on a TV show. Right. Like that, like you guys are so much more than just the character that we got seen. You're much more than Laura the Witch, right? That was on Brains versus Brawn II. But you're also Laura the Witch that apparently made it rain the night after she got voted out. So yes, thank you so much for jumping on. Would you go back on Survivor? Maybe not.
I would love to go back on Survivor. I would absolutely love to. I mean, if there's an All Stars, I'm waiting by the phone. I've got it here. My bag's packed, actually. It's already done. I've already predicted the theme colors. No. I'd love to go back. Yeah.
Well, we're trying to push, Australian Survivor podcasters versus players, right? Let's get
How do you think podcasters. What would your strategy be?
I would suck up to the players and just give you my game.
We do have big egos.
I mean, I think that could work. Caleb first, and then hang out with you on the players' beach. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Alex would be the person that would tank his game for any other Survivor player.
Okay, so you're my first ally. Thank you.
Yes.
Hearing that, yeah, I want you. Thank you.
That's my whole strategy, right? I just got to get on.
Yeah. You're with me. Perfect.
Let's go.
Oh, goodness. No, I firmly believe if I ever got the chance to play, I'm either going out first or I'm like making final six. Like, I think there's a world in which I come out like Miles where I'm like, let's talk. Let's have this experience. But there's a world in which I'm also more of the kind of the AJ route too, where I am a little dangerous. But people tend to like me until they play a strategy board game with me, and then they realize I'm a little deceptive. But that's okay, it is what it is. So
scary. That's very scary. I think I'm gonna stick with Alex.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Spain, for me. I'm gonna stick with that.
Everyone else does too, so no worries. Oh, goodness. That. Great. Well, Laura, anything that you want to plug for our listeners, anything that you're doing these days that you got going on, Instagram or whatever, anything you got?
Yeah, my Instagram's just Laura Darras. I'm quite active on there. I've been making TikToks, which is so much fun. I've been loving it. Karen and I are on our TikTok grind, so I've been making TikToks as well, which is so much fun, which is also Laura Darras.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for hopping on and being our first post-game interview. It was a hoot to be able to talk with you, and we hopefully will see you on our television screens one day again soon when they bring you back for All Stars or whatever it is next. But for those that have made it to the end of the podcast, thank you for listening all along. We will continue with our post-season coverage of Brains versus Brawn II with some other exciting guests. If you want to be sure that you are up to date on those, follow us, like us at Speaking Llama, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and over on Instagram. But until next time, we'll speak Llama to you later.